she got introduced to functional movement. And all of a sudden, a couple of weeks into it, she not only got the body that she was looking for, but she had this aha moment of, oh my gosh, I actually am waking up without pain. I'm not in pain while I'm exercising. I'm feeling great afterwards.
Welcome back to the Fitt Insider Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Benet. Today I'm joined by Pvolve President Julie Cartwright. In this episode, we talk about the company's approach to low-impact, resistance-based workouts. Julie shares Pvolve's omni-channel strategy, including digital content, equipment, and in-person studios. Plus, we discuss key partnerships, retail opportunities, and franchise expansion. Let's get into it. The Fitt Insider Podcast is brought to you by Jack Taylor, our exclusive PR partner. More than just PR, they're creative storytellers and brand builders who actually understand the health and wellness industry. To learn more, head to fitt.co/Jack Taylor. That's FITT.co/Jack Taylor. Hi, Julie. Welcome to Fitt Insider. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat. There's a lot going on. I feel like every time I turn around, obviously we're curating news and articles for the website and in touch and keeping tabs on the PR, but Pvolve is making headlines, a lot going on. So maybe to kick things off, can you introduce yourself and tell us about kind of the state of the business, what's happening?
Sure. I know. I'm so glad that you've heard so much about it. That's definitely the plan. I'm Julie Cartwright. I actually am the president of Pvolve. I had the fortunate opportunity of teaming with the founder back in 2017 to start the company, and I've been here ever since. I can give a little bit of background on, sort of where I came from before Pvolve, if that's helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. A lot of times listeners and just in general folks reach out and it's, how do I break into the fitness industry, or how do I kind of, this is my passion. I'm so interested in it. I personally enjoy it. Like making that transition. There's no, in my experience, like no linear path necessarily to doing that. So we'd be curious, yeah, how you kind of got there and maybe how those experiences help you in this role.
Yeah. So I actually started my career in the late 90s, which really definitely ages me. But I was working for an entertainment company. It was owned by Stars, the cable channel. And I ran all of home entertainment. So think back to VHS, DVD, and then finally digital. And I was doing product development and marketing. And we had a rather large area of the business that was dedicated to fitness. So I saw that area. I definitely wanted to get involved, and I got involved very, very early stage. I think I was probably around 22 at the time where I got the opportunity to really not only be a part of the fitness division, but also run it as the GM for nearly 2 decades. I just saw something that I really, really wanted to work on. I raised my hand. I made sure that they saw me and that they saw my enthusiasm. And I actually started to produce content. That's what we did at the company. We produced content with large fitness personalities like Billy Blanks, Donna Richardson, Weight Watchers, Crunch, Tracy Anderson. And so I had the opportunity to work with all of those different personalities, bring their product to life, produce it, and then actually sell it to big box retail. So I've been in the fitness industry since, really I came out of college, and I've been really fortunate, and the industry is pretty small. And so that's what really led me to meeting Rachel Katzman, the founder. She had heard about me through a very mutual friend that we both had known for decades. And she had a really amazing concept and she needed a business partner. So my name kept coming up again and again. And my friend would say, there's somebody that really wants to meet you. And I was like, okay, that's really great. But I'm like super busy. And I was going back and forth from Chicago to LA. And finally, Rachel would not take no for an answer. And I ended up meeting her in January of 2017. And sort of it's been life changing ever since.
Yeah, I think all of that is really interesting, especially like getting exposure to different aspects of fitness and different trends over time. And at this point, a lot of what comes up and the fads and trends in fitness, there you hear a lot of the things from functional training to hit training to boot camps. And obviously, when describing anything, you're using some of these words. With Pvolve, it's, low impact and resistance based and functional. When you kind of met Rachel and learned about the concept, and even now as you think about it, how do you separate, like, hey, what are buzzwords and trends from, like, hey, no, this is our approach and this is how we apply it and this is how we help other people understand even what it is? How do you explain that method without kind of falling into this trend and fad format that is so much of kind of fitness and wellness?
Yeah, Joe, I think that's so interesting because that's actually a huge reason why I didn't say no. When I met with Rachel finally in January of 2017, I had seen a lot of things over the course of, the years that I've been in fitness. I've seen things that were very trendy and I saw things more sustainable. When I met with Rachel and she told me her story, and her story is like really amazing, to be honest. It absolutely inspired me that day. She was 23 and I was 40. And that's an important part of sort of our connection because she was 23. She was bouncing around from fitness concept to fitness concept, really seeking like body aesthetics, like a lifted butt, toned thighs, a strong core. Great. A lot of us are looking for that. But she was sort of powering through pain every single time she was working out. She was waking up in pain, but she was in this mindset where it was no pain, no gain. I must be needing to feel this way and I'm doing the right thing in order to look the way that I want to look. She got introduced to functional movement, and functional movement is really the way that your body's intended to move in its everyday activities. And she got introduced to functional movement, and all of a sudden, a couple of weeks into it, she not only got the body that she was looking for, but she had this aha moment of, oh my gosh, I actually am waking up without pain. I'm not in pain while I'm exercising. I'm feeling great afterwards. And it was that story, that January 2017, that I looked across, and that was right when, and I have nothing negative to say about any sort of fitness concept. To each their own, move your body, go for it. But it was right at sort of the pinnacle of CrossFit, and a lot of people were getting injured. I was 40, as I mentioned, and my husband, who had always been fit, had just had to have shoulder surgery because of the jarring that his body had gone through trying to look a certain way, and it just really resonated with me. I said, this idea of being able to look really great, because I don't discount that, especially as a woman. I'm confident in the way that I look and it powers me through my day, but to feel good is absolutely a necessity. And I'm really regretful of the things that I did when I was younger that impact my 40s and into my 50s, because we're really in like the best acts of our lives. So I don't know, that was actually really a benefit that I had seen so much in the industry, because when she was talking, I just knew that the market needed this type of modality, and I was like sold. I was just like, "Okay, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you on the side of my day job." And then we put together, sort of the beginning stages of Pvolve.
Yeah, from that point, 2017, thinking about your past experience, kind of recognizing it seems like a white space in the industry, or at least kind of like even like a personal, hey, this solves a problem for me, even in terms of like how I think about it. Going from that to where it is now, like omni-channel hybrid equipment, digital scaling studios. Obviously, we can't go maybe like day by day into like what that was like, but what was that period like, saying like, okay, this is how we attack it in terms of all of the opportunities that are in front of us relative to, like we said, the different categories: content, studio, obviously running into a global pandemic in the midst of that. So yeah, how did you approach that? What were some of the kind of opportunities and challenges that you saw in making that transition from 2017 era to today?
Yeah, so you know what, we were lucky. Rachel is incredibly ambitious. She's the daughter of a really successful entrepreneur. So she had grown up sort of talking about what it is that she wanted to do. And she didn't really realize what she wanted to do until she became incredibly passionate about what it is that she was doing. And that's just the way I think it sort of starts there, is really sort of solving a problem that you fundamentally think needs to be solved. but she's ambitious and she's got big dreams. And so I think that when we first met, we knew that we wanted to bring Pvolve, which Pvolve is functional movement and resistance based equipment together, and that's very important because it's not one or the other. It's absolutely the two together. She knew that this was a really crowded market, and she knew that we wanted to have proprietary patented pieces of equipment. We wanted a moat of distinction around us, so that, or a moat of defense, if you will. And so we started off with, I'll tell you, it was like a streaming service, but it was a man in a basement, like running this, because we just wanted an MVP. We didn't have very much money. We just wanted to see if there really was demand for what it was that we were building. And we launched in November 8th of 2017. Tired and exhausted and barely alive, but we launched it, and we launched it with the streaming service. We did have a very small, almost like a room where we saw in-person clients in New York. And then we also had this patented piece of equipment. So we were always sort of like a product, digital, and in person. And bing, 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 sales just sort of started to happen. And we knew that we had something, and we decided to officially start the company on January 1st of 2018. I'll tell you, from there, it's a little bit of luck and a whole lot of passion. I mean, very early on, before COVID could have ever even been thought to be a reality, we knew that we did not just want to create a digital community. We ourselves need in real life communities. And we also were building a brand new to market modality. And so with that, we needed to be showing up in top DMAs across the United States and North America. And so convincing our investor very early on that we're not going to just be digital, which is really high margin. We're actually really committed to showing up in real life. We knew very early stage that we were going to be in franchising, and franchising was a very deliberate decision because we were building a brand, we were building a modality. We really wanted to have all of our focus on that. And we felt that passion was like a secret weapon, and the passion of owner operators in real life at these locations was going to be something that was going to be far more powerful than us just like staffing a bunch of studio managers across the nation. So it's that was happening, and at the same time, when I talk about luck, we were we're kind of obsessed with listening to the customer. Listening to the customer is like a part of our ethos. And a lot of people can say that, but I mean, we interview a customer every single Wednesday in front of our entire company. We have for years. We're looking at our NPS scores. I'm actually personally responding to customers, both good, bad, and ugly, believe me, and just listening to them. And everyone was saying the same thing. It was Rachel's story time and time again that they may have been looking for this body, but they were staying because they had these aha moments that I have better balance, better flexibility, I'm in less pain, I can ski downhill, without as much aches and pains. I can hike. It was so profound that we couldn't ignore it. And we were luckily awarded a grant at the University of Minnesota to prove out that by practicing Pvolve, which it's the functional movement plus our P-ball, that we could dramatically decrease your chronic lower back pain. So that was like the winning a grant. Like, you can't really dream of that. You actually just like sort of happens because you're doing something that people are sort of like in tune to. And then, we were able to prove that out. And then we started to get doctors' attentions. We built out an entire doctor board. We have a clinical advisory board of 4 doctors that work very closely with our highly credentialed trainers to develop like really world-class content that people don't expect from their fitness method. So it's been the most wild ride, but it's just about listening to the customer and what it is that they need, and continuing to drive forward.
No, I think you definitely hit it, and I think provided a lot of insight into what the thought process is as it's to some extent like you're just trying to figure it out. You're trying to figure out what resonates. You know that from a concept, from how you're feeling, from the results that people are seeing, that it works. And now it's a matter of like, how do we communicate this? How do we get traction? How do we start to scale it? And there is no playbook for that necessarily. Like there's kind of guardrails that people end up falling into, and but actually making it happen is all of the things that you're talking about, which is timing and passion and luck and being obsessed with the customer that pulls all those things together. I think one of the things that's potentially interesting is, you're talking about these experiences and how you're thinking about growing the business and where it's starting to get traction. But even then, as you look across the landscape, there are so many different brands. There are so many different kind of competitors in this space. Even if you look at the digital content side, like very low barrier to entry in terms of like who can create content and put those workouts out there and how they end up getting customers. Even more challenging when it's like brick and mortar. Now you're competing for retail space. There's all the overhead in the build out. How did you think about like, hey, we're going to go into this space and we're going to differentiate, and this is how Pvolve is going to stand out and really resonate in a way where like we can legitimately start to build the business and scale it? Like, was that daunting or discouraging in terms of like the competition, boutique fitness and that scene? Or was it like, no, we truly have something unique, therefore like that's what's going to set us apart?
So we always knew that we had something unique. We definitely knew that was going to set us apart, but I'll tell you, it's not been an easy road. It was incredibly difficult. We've had years where we didn't, and just to be completely honest, we didn't know if we were going to make it. We knew we had a product that really worked. We were hearing it from our member base. We were experiencing it in our own lives. We were clinically proving it through clinical studies, which is pretty amazing. You can't sort of deny that. But I think that, Joe, like, I think when you are creating something new, I think that the fact that this was a new to market modality, that we were telling you everything that you expect from traditional fitness, but then we were kind of trying to jam down your throat. But like, wait, it can also do this and it can also do this, and we can help you with your pelvic floor. It was almost like we were too progressive at the time, maybe a little bit before our time. And it was frustrating and it was scary because it costs a lot of money to educate people on something that's new in the market that takes a little bit more time to really understand. And it was not easy. There was, tears at times. There was a lot of very difficult decisions that we've had to make. And so I really want to reinforce that, because this has not been something where it's like all of a sudden we're at this point. And I've made a lot of mistakes that, yeah, I'm better for, but it could have cost us a lot. So, but I think the thing that I'm most proud of, and I think that the thing that actually got us to at least the success that we're at today, is we did not cut corners on the product. We just didn't. We really wanted to invest in the credibility, the efficacy, the prescription of the method. And it could have been easier to water it down. It could have been more scalable. We could have just been that thing that gets you a really amazing butt because we can, but we just weren't going to do that. We really believed in where the industry was going. And COVID was such a tough time, but we had some advantages because we were far more digitally native at the time. We were set up to be an omni-channel, and we were able to really grow during that time period. And we were also able to evolve. That's when we launched live, because we've always believed in this community. So this idea that the trainers could interact two ways through our live programming, and that's now sort of like the cornerstone of our subscription service. So we definitely learned during that time. And then we went through what everyone in fitness went through after COVID, where it's just like you have this boom, and then all of a sudden there was a lot of a lot of trainers that entered the space. You're absolutely right. There's not a huge barrier of entry. And so it's almost like the competition became even tougher post COVID. And then we just continued to just like stick to our laurels. We really believed that once we had a certain amount of penetration in market with studios, and in 2024 we'll have about 30 30 locations, that people were going to like sort of start to catch on, that we were going to start to grow. And then in August of last year, we got the most phenomenal call ever. I still like want to pinch myself. And that was Jennifer Aniston's team reached out to us via DM and said, hey, can we have a call? And we're just like, we're definitely getting punked. There's no doubt about it. Like, who is this person that's trying to take us down? But it was actually really her. And she's helped to catapult the growth that we knew we were going to get in 2024 and 2025, but accelerated that growth. And things are pretty exciting over here.
Hey everyone, we'll get back to the show in just a second. But first, I wanted to tell you about our exclusive PR partner, Jack Taylor. Honestly, this one's a no brainer. We've known the Jack Taylor team for years. They work with some of the most innovative health and wellness companies. We're talking Whoop, Athletic Greens, Hyperice, and many more. Jack Taylor has an extensive industry network, knows how to work with high growth companies, and really invests in building long term relationships. I know this firsthand because they're Fit Insider's PR agency, so I can confidently recommend them, and I do all the time. From startups to more established brands, they go beyond pushing product to help companies truly thrive. To learn more, head to fit.co/Jack Taylor. That's FITT.co/Jack Taylor. Now back to the show. Yeah, it definitely seems like you've reached that tipping point. And like I said at the onset, even kind of our job really is to kind of sit across the industry and track every brand, every trend, every emerging category, and slowly but surely, like following the trajectory. It does seem like there was that tipping point, and you even mentioned like maybe being too progressive or a little bit ahead of the times in terms of like functional movement, but also injury prevention and talking about the efficacy, like the kind of clinical study aspect. Now it seems like the industry has shifted in terms of how people are thinking about longevity and health span and maintaining healthy movement, not just like functional movement, but like mobility and corrective exercise and all these things coming together. And you're like, yeah, we've been here. Like we've been here kind of saying this, and you've put the package around it. And oh, by the way, getting the boost of kind of Jennifer Aniston doesn't hurt, certainly. So now ready to ride all that kind of into the future. As you now, we kind of spent a lot of the time looking back, now looking forward. Okay, you crossed a lot of the obstacles, laid the foundation, now kind of tapped into the right kind of zeitgeist, even in culture and exercise culture. What does that look like going forward? Digital product, equipment, franchises. You mentioned kind of studio franchise growth outlook. How does that growth strategy look like? What are you most excited about looking forward?
Yeah, so just this year we've grown 250%. So it's been a really exciting year so far. I'll tell you the biggest growth lever that we have for 2024 is absolutely our franchise expansion. That is a huge amount of our focus is making our franchise owners as profitable as possible, but also showing up in market as authentically as we can because it's a representation of this brand at its most most incredible level. We have 7 studios open right now. We've got our 5th franchise location opening next month in Calgary, which will be absolutely freezing. And then we've awarded a total of 40 franchise locations. So it's kind of like it's on in 2024. And we've always believed that that's going to be a huge part of our growth. I'll tell you that in January, we have some pretty massive groundbreaking news. We have been in another clinical study about exactly what you just brought up, and that's longevity. It's about aging youthfully. I think we've all taken stock of our holistic health after COVID and how we need to protect it with every single thing that we have, that we actually care, that how we are able to move our bodies in our 50s, 60s, 70s. People are living a lot longer than they did before, and you can live one way or another. You can be bound to your chair or you can be downhill skiing at 70. And so the clinical study that is going to be really launching publicly in January has, I think, the most incredible results, proven results, just about how we can actually help you do that. So I know that we'll be talking to you probably about that next month, but I think at the heart of what it is that we're trying to do is we are trying to stand for excellence in this modality, which we really fundamentally believe is going to be like a yoga, like a Pilates in 10 to 15 years. And when you think about functional fitness, we want to stand at the very top of excellence. And that's what we're building.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, and we'll certainly be keeping an eye out for the study results and what happens there, because I do think it's a much needed shift, just industry wide, in terms of we all kind of know, like, yeah, exercise is a miracle drug. It's medicine when applied, but like quantifying that and prescribing it and following whatever that prescription may be to get the results, like, we haven't quite gotten to that place as an industry to say, like, oh, this is what that blueprint looks like, and here is who is proven and what's not. And even I know this myself sometimes, like, this is the point of diminishing returns. You're pushing too far, you're now injuring yourself, you're not recovering enough. So to I think is really important, and you mentioned that kind of like excellence, and like we have taken and packaged this and studied it and thought about it and proven it. um it's exciting for you as a brand, but it's also exciting for the industry to see how that continues to evolve down that path. When you look at kind of the landscape going forward, we talked about, the challenges and the competition and maybe how daunting it was previously. When you look ahead, how do you think about the post COVID opportunity in boutique fitness, in continuing to, champion this excellence and kind of this modality? Is it hundreds, thousands, global location? Like, what do you think about that growth strategy and like the opportunity in boutique fitness now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the opportunity in boutique fitness is endless. I really do. I think what you said before, Joe, is absolutely it. I think that people are getting more educated on just how important movement is. It's sad. It's a sad reality that doctors are not sort of prescribing movement, and I certainly see that in the future. And everywhere I look, although I'm in the industry, I'm hearing that more and more, just how important strength is, that without strength, you can't even live as long as you want to live. There's just you have to be working on your body, and you have to be building that strength, or your body won't be able to move and it will break down. So I think that what we've seen since COVID is that we've seen that, honestly, there's a lot more attention to fitness. I think the fact that we're low impact and that we are a sustainable workout, think that more and more people are going to look towards that, because they're understanding what too much high impact can do as you age. But I think that the fact that we are, I hate to be so cliche, but I think the fact that we are omni-channel in such a foundational way, we're not just an in studio workout, that we also augment an at home couple of workouts. It's the exact same workout that you can have at home. It's incredibly portable. So I think this idea that you can fit movement in, whether you're on the road or you're at home, and it's something that's really good for you, I think is the way of the industry. And I've certainly been in enough conversations with other fitness, executives, that I think that they believe the same. So again, it's a little bit of luck that we always knew that's what we wanted to build. I think all of this stuff around recovery, longevity, this youthful aging, this idea of aging, and the fact that you've got to be proactive about it is only going to help the industry. And also I think there's a lot around women's health that I think is really growing in terms of conversation, and that is also something that we're incredibly focused on. So everything from how you move your body during menopause to pelvic floor health, and really what you can do through your movements to help your pelvic floor, because believe me, your pelvic floor goes through quite a beating during childbirth, and nobody's really giving you anything to help you sort of combat that.
Maybe a couple more questions before we get you out of here. because we've talked a lot about not only the fitness industry, but also the boutique side and scaling up the franchises. There's obviously over the last few years been a call it rush into digital. You were already in that space, had the kind of plans and ambitions around being omni-channel. How did you navigate how you were thinking about investing in content, scaling up content production, not only during COVID, but now as it relates to the business? Like, how big a piece of the business is it? How big is the team? How do you think about the type of content that you're creating? Like, what role does that content play, and how do you think about producing it?
Yeah, so that's had a lot of change over the course of the last 6 years. I think that early stage, we invested a lot of money. We had a separate production facility. We probably had about 10 people on our production team. We were pumping out a ton of new content, highly produced. And that's great. I actually am really proud of where we started. I think that COVID allowed for us to sort of pivot a bit. We had to. We had to start producing content really off of an iPhone, in our trainers' living rooms. We had to really adapt. And although that's not where we ended, we really realized that we need to be a lot more efficient, in terms of producing digital content. You'd be surprised. I can't believe I'm even going to say this, but we have like 3 people on our production team. And we're really lucky, again, because we are omni-channel, that we do all of our production for the most part in our physical New York or LA studio. And then we also produce live classes, and you'll see the live classes. They're oftentimes they're either in our studio or they're in our trainers' homes. And that's become so much more. It's not just accepted, it's actually appreciated. I think that you feel so much more connected to the trainer. I think as long as you can see the moves in a really easy way that you can follow along at home, that you feel connected. I think that this overly produced, crazy amount of investment in digital content is a little foolish. And so we've adapted a lot, and I'm really proud of where we're at right now. Again, we've got these live classes as part of our on-demand platform. We probably run about 45 live classes through Zoom. It's a really easy, seamless integration, but it's through Zoom, and that is absolutely hands down our members' like favorite content ever because they can actually get at home corrections from the trainers. It just feels like a community. People are putting stuff in the chat. You can either be on camera or off camera. So that's been again another way to really feed content, but not be so crazy about really what the cost of that is. But to your point, Joe, just this year alone, I mean, our digital subscription and our equipment, because you usually buy them both together, that actually represents 80% of our revenue. But that is only because our franchise business is not in market yet. So that will start to shift, by 2025, but it represents a huge amount of how we sort of fund the business. But we're also, I will tell you, and I've talked to many investors about this too, we're really lucky that we're hardware and subscription and that we're patented hardware. We've got 3 different patented pieces of equipment, multiple patents on them. And so I think that there is something that's like sort of expected in order to be a digital first success is that you sort of have to have some amount of hardware attached to it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm happy we do.
Yeah, putting the pieces together and thinking about what that kind of modern fitness stack boutique fit, like for so long it was kind of like you come to the classes and maybe you buy a t-shirt or a crew neck or something, but now thinking about what it is digitally, what the equipment is, what the in-person experience is, and really layering those things together is the total package. And I think both consumers and, to your point, investors have come to expect that. We've covered a lot of ground, from scaling up to looking ahead in terms of the franchises, thinking about the evolution of fitness and how people are thinking about their health, and even tying some kind of clinical studies around this. And we'll be on the lookout for that. So before we get you out of here, where would you point people to learn more, to follow along on social, or anything else you'd like to point their attention to?
Yeah, so pvolve.com. You can definitely go there and find out everything from our offerings to our studio locations. We are franchising. So if you're at all interested, and there's a link there as well. And if you're in any of our 7 cities that have studios as of now, please go visit the studios. It's such an amazing experience. We have San Diego, LA, New York, Nashville, Victoria, and so many more on their way. So really excited, but you can find everything that you're looking for at pvolve.com.
Awesome. I certainly hope people check that out. We'll have the links in the show notes. And Julie, thanks so much for making time today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Joe.
One more thing before you head out, help us spread the word. Take a minute to rate and review the podcast, subscribe to the YouTube channel, or share this episode with a friend. And if you like conversations like this, you'll love the Fit Insider newsletter. We send it every Tuesday. The link is in the description. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you back here next week.